know the feeling.
Trying to get all this done. All right. I'm going to give Facebook just a minute, just so we just got a couple people live right now. So I'll give them, we were talking about the PRH, Simon and Schuster DOJ. It's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So if you're watching this right now and if you're on Twitter, follow John Maher. Because what's really good about him is he's got the his like inside little jabs.
And he's just kind of a regular person reporting. Like, he doesn't necessarily understand all that they're talking about.
Right. And he doesn't really have, I mean, he's PW, but I mean, it's not like he's got any real vested interest one way or another on what so
Right.
he's just, but it's pretty interesting. So we're talking about
fascinating,
that.
fascinating Twitter reading.
Yeah. So it's a thread, and he's live tweeting, so you can go back and see the whole thing. So it's John Maher. And if you're interested in the behind the scenes of what's happening with the merger process of
Twitter has become the place to go for like up to the minute news, follow up on any kind of these hearings or whatever. There's just so many.
I used to hate exactly. And I mean, I belly laugh at some of the stuff. I mean, it is just like, there are some really funny people on Twitter. Yeah. And I used to hate it because I had to do it for the store. And it was just like, because you just get mired down in all this like stuff. But I'm finding it very entertaining these days.
Yeah.
It is a source of, let's like, give me my popcorn.
Yeah. I mean, even the limitations on the text, there's 20 things going on,
right.
That's however many clicks you got to take to page down and keep paging down. Because
it's good. You can get a long story going. All right. I missed last week. I heard it went great. Lots of good books, lots of good reading.
I was in Iowa last week to see my shirt.
Is this heaven?
From the Field of Dreams.
Love it. Was the Field of Dreams, wasn't it worth going?
Fantastic. Yeah. Oh yeah. And this week is the Field of Dreams MLB game. So they were setting up for that. It was incredible. Cool. Yeah, it was awesome.
It's a little out of the beaten path, but it's definitely worth going.
Worth the drive for sure.
It is, for sure. Okay, everybody, it's going to go Gabe, Shannon, who we haven't seen in a while. Welcome back, Shannon. Glad to have you back. Love your glasses. I had eye surgery and I was going to try and like not do glasses, but I just need to do
they're from Warwick's.
Oh,
so are these. Warwick's has good reading glasses. Okay, so
Gabe's first, where he loves to be. So all is right with the world.
All is right with the world. Gabe's going, Shannon, then Tom. So Gabe, take it away.
And it's kind of hard for the cleanup hitter when he gets sent to the top of the list, but
the top of the lineup.
Mr. Homer, formerly. Okay, I got some interesting books this week. I'm sure I can share screen because Jules is always ready. So today's a big pub day for us at Harper. Very exciting day. Michael Mann of Miami Vice fame is releasing his first, I think it's his first book, Heat 2. So the movie Heat has a huge following. In fact, today or tomorrow at the Brewery Theater, what's it called? The Brewery Theater in downtown LA. They're doing some airing. They're showing Heat. They're like 9 showings of Heat tomorrow in celebration of this release. We're going to be selling books in the back. But it's a big deal. So basically what this book does is it takes off where Heat 2 left off, where Heat left off, the movie left off, and then moves us back forward in time and then back and forth in time, creating awareness. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Heat 2 movie coming. So everybody was lined up to blurb this. I just picked up James Patterson. I know, what's he done lately? And Adrian McKinty, who has been around for a long time, but in the last few years, his star has really risen. And Don Winslow, everybody tripping all over themselves to give this book blurbs. Honestly, people, thriller writers and mystery writers were lining up to praise this book. Everyone loved this book. Co-written with Meg Gardner. So we have a bestseller and a good look at the city with the great cover shot. So we're really excited. This is I think this is probably the big summer read of the season for books like this.
So, okay. So is it Heat 2? Is that
Heat 2 is the book. Yes.
Is the book. Is Meg Gardner? She's involved with it, correct?
She's the co-author on.
She's the co-author. Okay. That's what I thought, because I wouldn't see it, but she's going to be doing a podcast with a guy down here, David Temple, in the Thriller Zone, I think, talking about this book. I think I'm getting my dates. This Thursday, I think the 11th. So she's going to be doing that with him. So that should be a really good.
We're talking it up, yeah.
Really good conversation, yeah.
And I love that Michael Mann is still an active filmmaker. I mean, he was on. He's making a Ferrari movie. He was on CBS Sunday Morning yesterday in Italy on location, talking about the book, but also talking about the movie he has coming out. So he's super active. I mean, he's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and
the media package on this was like enormous.
Yeah.
It's like every venue, every TV station, channel, show, day, morning, night, radio, magazine, virtual, everybody covering it. I mean, it's just across the board. Yeah. A lot of it. It's rare you see this much attention on a project like this.
And Beth on here is saying that he was interviewed on CBS Sunday Morning, I guess, too.
CBS Sunday Morning kicked it off, which is a good place for books.
So that, speaking of Twitter, and Don Winslow, if you follow Don Winslow, he posted the conversation that showed all the behind the scenes of the original, with like Val Kilmer being interviewed and like how they were shooting it up in LA and the sound effects and stuff. It was really good.
Oh, good. Yeah, he's a big fan. He's been a big supporter, talking this book up a lot around LA. And,
yep. So I'm just looking at all the friends that are on here again. Hi, Kim. So Kim loved Angel of Rome. I don't know whose that was. There you go. There's Gabe. And then an Immense World. Who's an Immense World? I don't know. Living in an Immense World. That's the other one. So anyways, glad to see everybody back. Serena wants to know, Gabe, if it can be read standalone, or do you have to read the first one?
No, I think it's a good standalone.
Okay. There we go. All right. Shannon, what do you got for us?
Okay. It's my kids aren't back in school yet. So if you hear banshee children running the halls behind me,
before you start though, I forgot to say hi to Amanda so wave at us, Amanda. Amanda joined. Amanda's learning Gabe showing up late, man.
After the clock
you
ticks.
Love it. You get that last bit going.
I sent a text.
Nice move, Amanda. Nice move.
I sent a text to inform him that to let you know I was running late.
Oh,
the coveted spot. There you go.
Dad,
all right.
Do not check.
I'm the
Sorry,
worst
Shannon.
It's okay.
Sorry,
Okay, so maybe Julie didn't talk about this because she was gone last week. So we'll see. I'm going to talk about Jamie Ford's new novel, The Daughters of Ah Fong Moy, which came out last week. And he was just at Warwick's. Yay. This was August #1 Indie Next Pick. It is a read with Jenna Pick. It's so good. You guys might know Jamie from he wrote from the corner from Hotel Corner from Bittersweet.
Hotel in the Corner Bittersweet.
Yes. So this is it's the kind of book I love. It's this multi-generational family saga. It's about this woman, Ah Fong Moy, who really was brought to America, and she was the first Chinese woman in America, and was like taken around as like how do we even say it, Julie? Like a show.
Right.
They sold tickets.
Well, Barnum, I think Barnum was.
Yeah,
she did end up with him at one point.
Just to see her, and she was treated horribly. But and then it flashes forward to like the year 2045, and when one of her descendants is seeing like this generational trauma in her own daughter, and she undergoes this treatment that helps her relive. And so it's like 7 different women through the family, and it's just, each one is just so well done, and you feel invested and pulled in, and he weaves them together beautifully. And just that intergenerational trauma and pain that you would think doesn't transcend, and it does, and it
Yeah, there's a
follows
term
people.
for it that he used when he was talking about it. I can't remember the exact term, but it's just like, yes, how the trauma goes through generations.
Yeah, but
Generational trauma.
so good.
There's a different term than that, Gabe.
Yeah, and if you didn't, I mean, Jamie is just the loveliest person. So sweet. I'm glad he got to go see you. So I bet there might be signed copies at Warwick's.
There are signed copies. The Jenna pick's a big deal. He's going to be on the Today Show on the 15th of August. There's a big announcement coming from that. So go on that, watch that on the 15th. So y'all heard it here first.
You did.
The stuff. So yeah, he is just a gem, and his talk is always, if you ever get to see him wherever you're at, he's traveling all around the country. So I know some people are watching us from all over different places. If he's coming to your neck of the woods, go see him, because
Definitely.
he is, he's so funny. You wouldn't think he is.
Funny and lovely and so smart. And like the research he does is fascinating. But,
So Serena's asking where Kim is. Yes, we don't know where Kim is. Kim, I know we'll be here back one of these days, but Kim, where are you? Okay, Tom.
We all miss Kim.
We all miss Kim. Okay, Tom, what do you got for us?
So I have today are all new voices and debuts. So it's exciting. One of the most exciting parts of our job is to find these debuts to introduce and fall in love with. So the first one, they're all different. The first one today is Acceptance by Emmy Needfield. So this is a memoir. Really, in a way, it's similar to a lot of other memoirs, and yet it's completely different. So she's in her late 20s. She's a survivor of many things, including her mother was a hoarder, the foster care system, homelessness, but she ended up at Harvard, and she ended up with a great engineering job at Google. So her story should, like a traditional telling of the story would be one of triumph over adversity and the resilience and grit. And all of that is true, except this is much more of a clear-eyed vision of what it feels like to be this person. Rather than being a hero, she deals very honestly with the pain of it all. So it's like she's really looking at the narrative around that story, that we all would like to be like. We all want to feel good. But she's not going to leave you just feeling good, because those stories really aren't true. This is the truth of those kinds of stories, and they're not necessarily what we, the way the traditional telling is what we want to hear. We want the fairy tale.
Right.
She wrote the essay. She got to Harvard, and isn't everything great? No, it's not necessarily great. So it's really just a very impressive, honest memoir. So if you loved Educated, of course, The Glass Castle, this is your next read. Even more to the point is probably Chanel Miller's Know My Name. That was also very much, I think, a part of this book. So the review, it came out last week in hardcover. The reviews are incredible. This is from the New York Times Book Review. Her gifts for capturing the fury of living at the mercy of bad circumstances, for critiquing the hero's journey even while she tells it, make Acceptance a remarkable memoir. So if you love this kind of book, you're going to love Acceptance. So check it out.
There we go. That is sounds like a good one.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
and it's one of those books, publishers have certain expectations when they first start to present them to us, and then the reps get them. And so a number of reps just fell in love with this book, and suddenly it got elevated. And now it's, that's fantastic, because now it's getting the attention that it deserved, which it might not have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And sometimes, sometimes it takes a little while to get that push, but then it just like explodes.
Right.
Again, you're hurting her first.
That's right. And there's definitely an audience for this kind of book.
Well, this will be like the new Cheryl Strayed, right?
That's right.
There we go. All right. Amanda, what do you got for us?
Yay. All righty. Apologies for my tardiness. All super apologetic for that. All right. So here we go. So my first book up that I have is actually a paperback original. It is called The Bronze Drum by Phongnujin. And so this book is, it is actually based on a historical event. So it is two daughters, or two, young women in Vietnam who raise an army of women to overthrow the Han Chinese, the people that have ruled them. So it's set about 40 CE. So in the area that is, ancient Vietnam. And so they do their traditional women roles, but then of course, the Hans come and they are suffering this very oppressive rule, and so they are not happy with this by any means. So they just gather this army of very powerful women to fight their oppressors. So I just think it's a really beautiful story. It's a bit of history that we don't hear about very often. And the fact that it's a paperback original, I think, is kind of interesting. So, definitely it's always exciting to have. So there you go, The Bronze Drum. And a gorgeous cover.
Gorgeous cover. And sometimes the paperback originals are really good for book clubs.
This is a stellar book for book clubs. Absolutely. This book was one of my hidden gems on the summer list, because it was paperback original. It was kind of lost in the shuffle there. So a lot of people just skipped it originally, but I really brought everybody back to it again because this is just one of my little hidden gems. That's what I call my little ones in there.
Yeah.
So.
But no, and that's the thing too, is that there is a lot written about China and different, Japan, but Vietnam is not someplace that gets written about quite as often. So that's a really good one. So thanks for that. Okay, I'm going to share my screen because I'm actually going to talk about some stuff today. Not a lot, because I'm kind of not good at this anymore. I used to be better at talking about books, but I'm going to talk about Marianne Wiggins. Yay, Shannon, this is one. This is out. Is it out tomorrow or was it out last week, Shannon? Out tomorrow? You're on mute.
Last week.
It was last week. Okay,
Yeah.
It was last week. But Marianne is going to be at the Coronado Library down here in San Diego on Thursday for a live event. So this is Properties of Thirst. I loved this book, but I read it so long ago, Shannon, that it's like, oh my goodness. But so giving you a complete synopsis of it's probably not going to be the best. So Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong on some of this stuff, but
it's my next pick, Julie. So whatever you leave out, I'll chime in with afterwards.
There you go. Okay. So I'm not going to say very much then, because I'm going to give you the pitch because you're the pro and you will do way better than I will. But basically, it's a California story. It's water rights. It's Native American. What happened with those water rights, and with the internment camps that happened up in Central Valley. It's got everything, but it's just got this story in between with the. I'm going to mess it all up. I'm not even going to go there. Just know that it's blurbed by people like Colin McCann and Ruth Ozeki. It's so good. And I'm so happy that she's going to be at the Coronado Library. So I think it's Shannon talk about the book. Just there. See, look, Gabe's got it. It's good, right, Gabe?
She's a must read. She's a brilliant author. She always has been. She's been nominated for National Book Awards, Pulitzers, the whole.
Yeah.
And she's a really deep writer. She's
been a long time since I feel like her last book.
Yeah.
Really long time.
And when you read it and
so
then
good.
you read the epilogue of what she went through to write it, it's just so good. So Properties of Thirst. There you go. Gabe, what do you got next?
The Marianne Wiggins book. I was going to talk about that.
There you go.
That piece that her agent wrote, was really, really kind of. It's worth that. That alone is worth it. Yeah. It's just the beauty of reading. I was looking at my iPad. Tells me how many my reading program that I use tells me how many pages I turn a month, and it's amazing how many pages I turn a month because there's just so much to read. But things like that, that you go off to aside from the books you read, there's just so much content out there
it's amazing.
Works.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yes. So I am going to talk about a book that's a special book. It was not a huge book in my world. It comes from our Harper One imprint, which is our personal growth seeker and then, they sort of dabbled in some of the new agey kind of things, and a lot of thought-provoking books. And this is the kind of book I think that just needs to be talked about. Chris Martin's They May Tomorrow Be Awake, on poetry, autism, and a neurodiverse future. Chris Martin is actually a neurodiverse man himself. He's an educator, he's a poet, and he's introduces what he's done is introduce poetry to primarily nonverbal autistic kids, but also kids that are verbal. There's just, the levels of being on the spectrum are really, really broad. And he's got a good take on it, being neurodiverse himself. But it's just, it's a really lovely book on how to get in touch with these kids and understand these interesting personalities who are definitely withdrawn, and get them to express themselves and get to understand them better. And he's found that through poetry, it's been really the most effective, most immediate way for people on the spectrum to express themselves through writing. And writing's a great exercise for a lot. If you're recuperating from something, write. If you're depressed, journal. If you're an alcoholic, journal. If you're whatever, journal. Writing is really good for you, for the brain, and getting the brain functioning, and your brain works in a different way. But he's had some amazing results in getting these kids to express their inner beings with some really electrifying poetry as well. And you got to take a look at this book. So I didn't sell a whole lot. Not a lot of people took this book. Not a huge publication by any means. But I think every single one of us knows somebody who's neurodiverse. It's in your family, in your spouse's family. I got mine at home. I got Blaze at home, and who's taught us a lot of stuff, and who's also a writer. And we are. I think it's time for a book like this. I think for those of us who are open-minded and want to understand, it's a really mind-expanding book. It's a book that opens up your brain a little bit. I know the focus doesn't seem like it is, but when your brain's working, you're accepting and you're tolerant of views, and he just really does a great job expressing himself. His writing is quite good, being a poet. So I could go on and say not a bunch of stuff about this book, but it's really just terrific. Is
it memoir? Is it poetry?
It's some memoir. It's some memoir. It's a little, not so much prescriptive, but it is some of that, and it's examples of writings.
Yeah.
So there'll be a narrative. Excuse me. There'll be a narrative dealing with one of the kids, and then you get to the end of the story, and you get a piece of writing. That sort of
sounds really good. Sounds
kind of punctuates everything he's talking about. So yeah, it's a terrific. It's one of those surprise books that I bet a lot of people haven't checked out. Yeah. I looked at it because Deborah opened it up and started going through it, and
I saw August 9th. So does that mean it's out tomorrow?
Until tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Okay. All right.
As is Heat.
Love it. All right, Shannon, what you going to talk about?
Surprise. I'm so glad that you brought it up and you talked about the event. And
very poorly. You talked about the book very poorly.
No, but Gabe can be my Vanna because he has a copy.
There you go.
I could say.
Thank you. Properties of Thirst. I mean, I will say that Julie was one of our earliest readers and fans, and she has her lovely blurb, I believe, in the galley that Gabe is.
Yeah, look for it, Gabe.
Yeah,
come on now.
It's just
look, and you didn't even notice.
Yeah, if you are looking for a sweeping saga epic of California, look at that, there she is, she's a star. We all know Julie has impeccable taste, so I mean,
love that.
But yes, a sweeping historic saga set in the American West. It is, like Julie said, it's about water rights. It's centers around a family, and it's outside of Lone Pine. If you've ever driven from, LA to Mammoth, you know that you pass by, that's where you have lunch in Lone Pine, and where people stage themselves to climb Mount Whitney. But, it's the Eastern Sierras. So it's set on this family that have a ranch way out in the country, and they are, the patriarch Rocky is very upset because the LA Department of Water is draining their water, and their land is dying. And we all know how this ends, but it has so much focus about that. But it's and also the founding of Manzanar, and the camps, but she just so beautifully gives you so many characters, so many family members, and you are just compelled to keep turning.
Because there's a little bit of a love story in it. I mean,
there's a love story, there's history, there's so much gorgeous writing about food and cooking. And just the majestic landscape of the Eastern Sierras. She just writes so gorgeously about that. I mean, as you can tell, I'm like such a fan of that area, but it just evokes, I mean, if you are interested at all in California history, and our history as a country, I feel like this is just the perfect historical fiction read.
And I'm a big fan of big thick books, and so I love the short book too. Like Mohsen Hamid's book is just like the short, very just like good condensed thing that is just blows your mind away. But I love sometimes just that digging into something that's got tons of pages and characters, got some meat.
You just want to keep reading about them all, and yes, they all like take a piece of your heart. So it's just the best kind of sweeping novel you can read. So
Amanda's on here. I like big books, and I cannot lie. Okay, thanks for putting that earworm in my head. Thank you very much.
That Amanda is so deep.
Thanks, Amanda.
It's a Western epic. I think it's right up there. I think it's for me with Lonesome Dove and with it's funny with the wheelchair. What's his name? Oh my God! Taught at Stanford forever.
Stegner.
Big Rock Canyon. Yeah.
I do think that throwing those around is
I don't think it is. Honestly,
it's not too lofty. Like it really is one of those beautiful books that I think will be read for forever and ever.
And she's not always been she hasn't always been the most accessible writer. You have to have had to dig into some of Marianne's books in the past. This, I think, is like what Barbara Kingsolver did when she did The Roundhouse. She sort of changed to a more accessible and a better book, somehow. But I think it's it's a beautiful novel. I love it.
It's really good.
And
once
you hear, I don't want to tell it because I want you to go to the Coronado Library and hear her. But once you hear how it ended up coming into the world, is just another story that's just as fascinating.
Yeah, really. Okay. Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you, Gabe.
All right, Tom, who's our new author you're going to tell us about?
My next debut is...
I read that one too.
Oh, excellent. So this is, again, historical novel, but not so far in the past. This is like the 70s to the 90s. And it's really a sophisticated narrative. I mean, it's a story of it begins with a call from China, a mother in China, to her son in America, who they're estranged. And she's calling to tell her son, who's teaching at a university here, that his father has disappeared and she needs him to come home. That's a place he doesn't want to return to, but he goes. And so there's a central mystery that keeps you turning the pages in the present, which is the 90s. But when he gets back there, he runs into all kinds of bureaucracy in China. So he seeks out his childhood friend, a girl, now a woman, who is married to a Chinese government official. And so then we go back to their past. So then you learn about I had no idea, this is all a period post-cultural revolution. I know nothing about, right? These children that were sent down from the cities to the rural villages. And that's so the young girl was sent down to his rural village. And they fall in love and they have an idea that they're both going to go to university together, and it doesn't work out that way. So she braids these two stories together really beautifully. And because of the mystery of the father, it's a page turner of sorts. So I learned so much about China, about that period in history. I knew nothing about it. So it's a great family story. It's also father-son story. And then it's a love story in its way. So really, I love this book. So A Map for the Missing, out tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
And,
I read that one too. And you're right, Tom. It is, the being sent down was just so fascinating, because it was like, wait a minute, this girl's living just like a city life.
That's right.
Her has all her friends and a whole bit, and then it's just like, oh no, you're going to go down, and now you're going to work in the fields, and you're going to work
right.
you're going to live in a dormitory or whatever, and it's just, and they did it, and it's
and nothing I knew anything about. So it's like
Lisa C writes about it a little bit, I think.
Oh, really?
In some of her writing.
It's one of the reasons I read. One of the many reasons is to learn stuff from books. And at the same time, she's a really good writer. Her prose is, beautiful.
Yeah, it was really good. No, that was another really good one. So yay. All right. Okay, Amanda.
I just read something about that. Interesting.
She was one of the authors at the Kaliba thing that we went to.
Oh, maybe that's where I got it, where it stuck in my head.
Yeah. She talked at the little conference that we did up in LA, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I think
that's
my brain.
She did.
Okay. All right, Amanda, what do you got?
Okay. All right. So for my next book, I have If Nietzsche Were a Narwhal, Why Animal Intelligence Reveals About Human Stupidity. I mean, just the title alone is intriguing, right? So is human intelligence a gift or a curse? We've developed language and writing, built complex societies, and gone to space. But on the flip side, we also invented racism, and we lie all the time. So through animals, and though animals and humans are mostly the same, our differences are, quite illuminating. And they just show that maybe, this whole intelligence thing maybe just wasn't that great. I mean, are we really more happy than animals? I don't know. So anyway, Justin Gregg, the author, is a scientist. So he does argue that there is an evolutionary reason why human intelligence isn't more prevalent in the animal kingdom. Simply put, non-human animals don't need to be successful. And miraculously, their success arrives without the added baggage of destroying themselves and the planet in the process. So definitely an interesting book. I mean, that cover and title is definitely going to draw you in. But yeah, think about it. I mean, are we better off than the animals of our world? So there you go. If Nietzsche were a narwhal.
It's a great cover.
Right?
It's a really good cover.
And title.
Title too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant cover. I love it.
All right. I'm going to go again here. Let's see if I can get the right screen up. There it is. When We Were Bright and Beautiful.
Oh, I talked about that last week and said Julie will be talking about it next week.
So and I didn't even know that you talked, because I didn't watch Tea Time last week. Sorry. I loved this book. But this was one where it's just like, when I got it, I was just sort of like, oh, I've got so much other stuff to read. And then it was just, so the editor, whoever it was, or somebody said, oh, can you, see what you think about this one? It was so good. It's just, so I won't talk too much, but I'll just tell you what I felt about it. I mean, it's just, because Gabe gave you the whole spiel about upper class New York, which is just fascinating. So in the premise, a brother gets accused of raping somebody, and it's this courtroom drama, but it's all this other stuff that's going on with this family underneath, and like how big money can't always fix everything. And it was really good. And it was definitely that page turner kind of book. That
she's a provocative writer. Yeah, she's a good writer. She thinks a little differently, and her angle. I think the angles she takes, and the way she does with the daughter.
The daughter, because the daughter, she's really who edited. I mean, the courtroom thing is kind of the what kind of propels everything, but it's really about the daughter. But it's really good. So if you didn't get it last week because of Gabe, you better get it this week because of me.
If we have to talk about this book next week, we will.
We will talk about it next week. Just telling you. No, it was really good. So When We Were Bright and Beautiful. Love it. Okay, Gabe, what do you got for us next?
Thank you, Julie. And I'm going to finish up.
I feel like I'm on a talk show or a game show.
We need to get our patter down. Well, look at those kids, Jules. So The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings. A lot of you, probably no one's heard of Megan Giddings. And that is a shame because honestly, her last book was like all the rage. It was picked by, it was what did it get? I mean, it got so much stuff. NPR Book of the Year 2020, Electric Literature, one of 55 books by women and non-binary writers of color, Lit Hub, loved it, Ms. Magazine anticipated 2020 FemBooks. I just got like a ton of attention, Lakewood, which was all about science experiments in the African-American community. And she's got this Shirley Jackson thing going on. They're not necessarily fantastical, but I think we talk about this, Women Could Fly. It's basically, this is the world of The Handmaid's Tale, in a world where women have like no identities, and people are just there's just a lot going on in here. The main character, her mother disappears, and she has no idea. I gotta get this book back in my head. I was talking about it a lot at the beginning of the year, and it's been a while since I read it. But the mother disappears, and no one knows what happened to her. So Josephine is the daughter, and there's all these that she ran away with a man, she was killed, she was murdered, and 14 years later she is ready to kind of let all that go. She's growing up a little bit and move forward with her life, but the state mandates certain things of women, which is that you have to be married by the age of 30, you have to be monitored, you forfeit your autonomy completely, and at 28 she is not sure that she wants to be involved with any of this. So it's really right in the sweet spot of The Handmaid's Tale, but she's got her own, like I said, we say Octavia Butler, or Shirley Jackson. There's definitely a darkness and a tone that she sets that is that adds to the tension, and the narrative is just really, really strong, and she's a really terrific writer. So you're going to be reading a lot more about Megan Giddings in the future. As I said, Lakewood was really well received.
Was Lakewood yours, or was that assignment book? Like that was yours? Because I remember Lakewood was a really good book. That was really good too.
Yeah. So. She gets into this world, and it is it's just really interesting what she sees, and of course, it's all about societal ills and
but she tackles them in a really interesting way. I mean, she's
really interesting way. So then it's a narrative. It's a great narrative. Right. And like I said, the writing, the structure, she's got it down. She's definitely a writer.
I saw you try and sneak another one in there. I saw you try and sneak Mary Jane in there. So what were you going to say about Mary Jane?
You had some side stock because she was there last week.
I know. I was pissed that I missed meeting her. So
it's available. We got some signed stock.
Signed stock. Okay. Signed stock at Warwick's on that one. I love that little book too. That was a really good book. That's a great summer. That was a great summer. If you're looking for a beachy read book, go get Mary Jane. Go get a signed copy of it.
Moves fast. It's going fast. It's
going fast. Yeah. So if you're on here and you're ordering it and you want a signed copy, make sure you put that in the notes to make sure that they check that if it's still available or not. Yeah, I was bummed I missed that. All right. No, because I want to be everywhere. I don't want to miss anything.
FOMO.
I have huge FOMO. All right, Shannon, what's your lightning round?
All right, how perfect for my lightning round. Jim Thorpe, Path Lit by Lightning. So this is a biography by David Marinus that is coming out tomorrow. So, and it's already getting spectacular reviews. David Marinus is a 2-time Pulitzer Award-winning journalist and biographer. he's written biographies on Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, but also sports bio, Vince Lombardi. Anyways, this is about Jim Thorpe. I know it's lightning round, so I won't be too long, but he won 2 gold medals in the 1912 Olympics. I think the decathlon and then the pentathlon, and was an All-American football player at the Carlisle Indian School, and then went on to play pro football and pro baseball. So by all accounts, one of the greatest athletes that's ever lived, but was, had to deal with a lot of racism. And then in his later years, financial problems and alcoholism and all of those things. But David does, he's such a masterful biographer that I think, keeps the narrative going, and a lot of insight into kind of a fascinating life that we should all know more about. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think his gold medals were just, he was stripped of them, but
Yes,
was just recently given back.
I was just going to say that. I was
ago.
just like, because they had, and I can't remember why they stripped him of them, because he wasn't qualified
He
or
played pro
He played
That was it.
pro
or something
baseball, yeah.
back in the day.
back in the day, which he probably made like $5,000 doing or some ridiculous,
Right.
but because it was a pro status. But I think it was his great granddaughter or somebody had been fighting to get them reinstated and got them reinstated.
You have to think race played a role in that too.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Right.
It wasn't
Yeah.
just
Wasn't just
It
it
wasn't
was
just the
violation.
rules.
wasn't just breaking a rule. Yeah.
well, I love David Marinus. And I love how he goes back and forth between like big biographies of political figures and history
Yeah.
to sports figures. This is what David Halberstam used to do too. It's great.
A lot of range.
Yep. So good. I think that would be a really interesting one. Thank you. All right, Tom.
All right, my last debut, so we had a memoir, we had a literary novel, and now we have historical fiction, Mad Moselle Revolution. So this is about it's about the French Revolution, but from a whole new perspective. That's what's cool about it. So the main character is a biracial heiress in Haiti who flees Haiti as the Haitian Revolution breaks out for Paris, and she gets her way into the inner circle of Robespierre, and the French Revolution erupts. And so she's right there for the Reign of Terror. So it's about the French Revolution, but as I say, from a completely new perspective. And it's really talking about how linked France and the Caribbean have always been. And then Robespierre has always been a fascinating figure in the Reign of Terror. Who could resist the Reign of Terror? So it's the Mad Moselle Revolution, and it comes from Berkeley, which is one of their specialties are these really good historical novels. Include like they published The Personal Librarian last year before, but it fits. If you love that sort of book, you'll love this one.
Perfect. Love it. Okay, Amanda.
Okay. All right. So as usual, I'm finishing with a children's title. So this is Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. So this is actually the graphic novel version of the novel. So this is a bestseller for us. This comes from our Rick Riordan Presents series. And so now we have it in graphic novel format. And as with all of the Rick Riordan Presents, we're always dealing with gods from around the world. And so in this book, we're dealing with the god Anansi, so the little trickster god. And so Tristan, accidentally punches a hole into a whole different dimension. And while he's there, he finds himself in the middle of a battle and meets the American folk heroes, John Henry and Brer Rabbit, exhausted, and they're all trying to get back home. So there you go. And you can never trust the trickster god. So in graphic novel format.
I love it. Okay, I know that sometimes, thank you, Amanda. I know sometimes people were asking for like things that maybe we passed or didn't get enough attention. So it's hard for us to do like a themed one sometimes, but I thought I would bring back an old classic, one that's literally an old classic, but then was a reissue and then became a Warwick's like just phenomenon bestseller for a while, because we had a bunch of booksellers that read it. Every single bookseller that read this loved this. This is a short classic book, stoner. He's a professor of English in Ohio.
Missouri.
Oh, is it Missouri? You're right, it is Missouri. Sorry. Why did I think Ohio? There's a Missouri farming family.
I'm from Missouri, so
so you know this. So you know stoner. I've got my Midwest a little mix. Well, I guess Ohio's not talking about that. Anyways.
It's a square state.
I digress. Not California. What can I say?
Exactly.
Anyways, where are we at here? So we're in a little college town. It is this quiet novel that there's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of, if you're looking for that, but it's just so impactful. And did you read it, Tom?
Yeah, it's been a while now, but
it's been a while since I've read it too. But it just is this, just like, I don't know. He just stays with you, and the wife. It's just good. It's like
it's great that it was kind of I think it was well known in its time, but then and then it's now been rediscovered, and I don't think now it will ever fall away again.
Yeah, he's just So if you haven't, because Warwick's was all about it there was a few years where it was just like it was on our bestseller list all the time. But if it's one that you haven't picked up and you're looking to go back to a classic, it's a really good classic to go to. So stoner. So there we go.
Teaching him in school now.
Are they? That one or him?
Stoner.
Wow.
In high schools. It's getting read in high schools now.
That's cool.
I didn't know that.
Thank the New York Review of Books, man. That's a good little imprint.
Wow. Yeah. Imagine that. Okay. Look at me not knowing that.
Been a while since high school, girl.
To like stay a little more attention to stuff. Anyways, okay. Thanks everybody. This was really fun. Another good week. Another great. So Wednesday, we're gonna have Mona Alwood for the paperback of All's Well. So join us on Wednesday at 4 because I love Mona, and so I love that book. She's brilliant. And if you're in San Diego, we're going to be down at the Balboa Theater with Bob Woodward on Sunday as he talks about his book Peril. So if you're in San Diego and don't have anything to do, check out the Balboa Theater and get some tickets to that. So anyways.
And Marianne Williamson on Thursday.
And talked about that too. Marianne on Thursday. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.